Good afternoon, y'all. I hope you guys are all enjoying your Wednesday so far. It's the afternoon right now, but I don't know what time of day you're watching it. Either way, thank you for watching this video and chiming in for another edition of Mr. Williams' 7th grade social studies. All right, sweet. So that's what today's meme right here. We got the seasons of Rome, y'all. I'm pretty sure you guys all love the changing of seasons. Switches things up a little bit for you. So that's like in Rome, we have the spring, we have the winter of Rome. We have the summer, and then we have the fall of Rome, which is a little hotter than the summer, as you can see right here. All right, awesome, awesome. So now, with that being said, we're going to be diving into today's lesson. All right. So for the agenda, what do we got on the agenda today? All right, here's today's Easter egg right here, and how it plays into today's lesson. Also, this goes into my daily recommendations right here. All right. So Coldplay is one of my favorite bands, and also one of my favorite songs of theirs is Clocks. All right, that's if you need any music to jam out to during quarantine. This is one right here. Also, we're gonna see how clocks or time ties into today's lesson. All right. So, with that being said, what announcements do we got? Okay, so this week's Google Meet. Remember, these are not required. It's just if you have any questions or if you just want to talk. All right. This week's Google Meet is going to be on Thursday. I just switched it, so that's why it should be switched into your calendars. That's on Thursday. The reason being, I'm actually going to be gone on Friday. So that's why, as soon as I'm done with this week's Google Meet on Thursday, I'm actually hitting the road to Denver. All right, sweet. Now, Good News Friday. Now, remember, your Good News Friday article. It's still due on Friday. Don't worry, don't panic. But I'm just going to be doing this week's Good News of Mr. Williams today instead of Friday. Reason is because today's lesson's actually pretty short, so that's why I figured it'd be easier for me to fit it in here. And then on Friday, with feudalism, Mr. Stanfield and we're gonna try jamming essentially a week's worth of stuff into one day. So that's why I'm gonna be hard pressed to keep feudalism under 15 minutes. That's why I decided to move Good News of Mr. Williams to Wednesday instead of Friday. All right, but do not worry. Your article is still due on Friday. It's not due today. All right, that's it. And also, as always, if you have any questions, please let me know. Email me during my office hours or any time of the day. And then also, this Thursday, I'll be having a Google Meet if you want to talk to me face to face or have any questions about stuff. All right. So today's mini lesson, we're going to be going intro to the medieval era. I'm going to be introducing you to what we're going to be getting into with the medieval era, and then also we're going to go over a timeline of the world. And that's why we're going to show hey, what have we accomplished so far? Where are we at? And also where we're going. Okay. And with that being said, for a workshop, remember to continue working on your week 3 online packet. All right. Sweet. So what's the good news, Mr. Williams? You see this man right here? This guy is named Tyler Perry. And this week's good news article, our good news shout out comes from Amy Salazar and from Third Block. All right. So if you don't recognize Tyler Perry, maybe you might recognize some of his movies. All right. So that's why he's directed Medea's Family Reunion, or also Medea Family Funeral. So that's why he directs a lot of comedies like this. I can't recommend it mainly because I've never seen it before. But if any of you guys know the movies are worth watching or not worth watching, please shoot me a comment. So that's maybe if it is worth watching, I might have something to watch right there. All right. But getting back to today's good news story. So Tyler Perry, guy in the back right here, yes, he ended up paying for the elderly's groceries at 73 different supermarkets throughout New Orleans and in Atlanta. So what he did is I forgot, I don't know what day, it didn't specify what day he did this, but so in the mornings, the elderly have elderly hours now, whether it's City Market or at Walmart, they'll just go in and be hey, from these times only, you guys can go in and shop. And that's what Tyler Perry did is hey, for any elderly person going in here, the tab's on me. And he just called ahead. And which is super cool because it just shows that kindness is being spread throughout, I don't know, just America, and just seeing hey, our elderly people, they still do matter. And they're the most vulnerable to the disease. That's why just seeing him just pick up the tab and being able to pay for their groceries was honestly super awesome. And I really appreciate Tyler Perry for doing that. So once again, thanks Amy for sharing this good news article. And that is the good news of Mr. Williams for the week. Now, for your learning target for today, this is what by the end of the video, you guys should be able to know how to do. You can explain why we use the term medieval to explain like the medieval like era. And also like you'll be able to draw a basic timeline for world history. All right. All right, medieval. I don't know like what many of you guys think of when you hear the word medieval, but like when I hear the word medieval, I usually think of like knights, lances, castles, maidens, and kings and lords. All right. Brings it back to a very unique and olden time right there. That's what you usually think of. Now, today, you guys are going to be learning some Latin right here. Medi right here means between, and or just like the middle right there. All right. And then Eve, just like EV, means age. So you guys are smart. You guys are seventh graders. Therefore, medieval literally means Middle Ages right there. All right. It means the Middle Age. So it's kind of one of those like, wait, what? Why do we call this the Middle Age, you might ask? So I'm going to show you guys a picture right here. So this is like how historians, like along with like AD, like along with BC and AD, this is like how like historians like put together a timeline with eras, all right? Because we legitimately do have like, say like 2000, we're in 2020 right now. If you want to be really technical, you could write down 2020 AD, which is 2020 years after Christ. Now the difference is like, it only divides it up into like divides history up into two eras, which is basically like anything that happened before Jesus or anything that happened after the birth of Jesus. So what we did is to like shorten up and make like eras a little more like better, and to like have like, I don't really know what the word would be, on a little more concise and like, hey, what era did this event in history happen in? We divide up into these right here. All right. So that's why we have prehistory, which is like 300 million years, 3 million years before BC, before Christ. Wow, I'm struggling right now. Bear with me. Thank you all. Thank you all. So that's why the reason we call it prehistory right here is because like prehistory means anything before writing. That's why we find fossil evidence. We can find evidence that the humans used fire, but like writing was not a thing. That's why we couldn't look up journals, or like we couldn't look up like clay tablets of like how was life back then, because we honestly like didn't know. We can theorize. We can theorize that cavemen were a thing. We can theorize people moved around and were hunter gatherers. But other than that, we can't really like dive in to see like, hey, what do they know? All right. And this is also where like agriculture was founded. Like it was around 10,000 BC. And that's where we started like learning, like for my history class. Like this is like around right here. This is where like we start learning about Mesopotamia. And then also the invention of writing right here. This is with cuneiform. All right. So that's like, now why are we talking about this? Why are we learning about this? The reason is because like next year when you guys do state testing, and also when we talk with Mr. Carey's class, you guys are going to be expected to know a timeline similar to like this. That's when we talk about ancient age or medieval age. You guys will have an idea what era he's talking about, all right? So when we talking about right here, an invention of writing, this is where like history begins, because we can actually see like a legit like written down of as far as like what was life like for these people, what events happened, whether it could be anything as far as like the Greeks fighting the Persians, or something as simple as far as like Egyptians being like, hey, this is what we think life is going to be like in the afterlife, or this is like how we used to keep records. All right. So with that being said, we're right here at the medieval age. We're going to go a little bit into the modern age, but not much. The only thing we're going to be talking about modern age right here is going to be with religion. Because once we get to Columbus right here, this is where you're going to begin 8th grade history. Like, because we're not going to get to the founding or discovering of America. Mr. Carey and Mr. Somerville are going to be talking about that. So that's why we're going to be wrapping up right here at the medieval age. But what we've talked about right here is Neolithic and ancient age. That's what we have gone through. Now, speaking of which, right here, this is a timeline of what you have accomplished. That's why I wanted to show this right here. Speaking of which, now would be an awesome time to pause this video and work on your timeline and your worksheet, because this is what it exactly looks like. All right. So that being said, let's bring it back Farming was invented right here. And this is where we start talking about with Mesopotamia. I don't know if you guys remember this from August and September. This is where we started right here, all right? With the beginning, with the invention of farming, the invention of writing, and also just like this area of the world, this is where humankind we have our first recorded evidence of humankind right here. And this is where humankind spread out throughout the whole world, all right? Now, that being said, we worked our way in. Writing was invented, and we got to Egypt, all right? We got to the pyramids, and we got to like some of like the greatest, like, I don't know, inventions of the simple machines right there, and also like the first ever library. They all came from Egypt. From there, we worked our way over to China, and some of your longest like running dynasties happened during this time. So that's why, to give you an idea, America is not even 300 years old yet. There are some dynasties in China where one family ruled China for over 1,000 years. So just think about that for a second, all right? And also, a lot of our great inventions come from China. So like whether it's paper or whether like noodles and also like silk and like also like tea, they all come from China. They all come from the East right there. End up getting traded in Silk Road and introduced to the West. From there, we also went into Greece. Greece was one of my favorite areas to teach right there. Just like the stories of just like, hey, what are all the Greeks uniting and fighting the Persians? Or whether it's like the come of like Alexander the Great, who is arguably one of the greatest warriors of all time. How they like improved and modified warfare was a giant game changer for them at the time. And then from there, we get to Rome. All right. So that's a 476 when it talks about fall of Rome. It means the fall of the Western Roman Empire. All right. The Eastern Roman Empire still lives on, but Rome officially fell in 476 BCE right here. Okay. And then from there, here's our knights and ladies right here. This is where we talk about like our castles and our lords and whatnot and feudalism. That's what we're going to be talking more in depth about on Friday. All right. And then once we get to 1492, around Columbus, that's where the end of Mr. Williams' class is. And you guys are like, will be released for the summer, all right? So, in conclusion, this is like something that like you guys will need to know, all right? Remember to look at this timeline. This is, if you don't want to look at this timeline instead of like the one I created, I would also suggest pausing right here. Or you can look at this one, all right? Either way, you guys are going to have to know this timeline, all right? So now, I told you guys it'd be short. Hopefully by the end of this, you can explain why we use the term medieval to describe this period of time in Europe. And also, you should be able to draw a basic timeline of the world, a timeline for world history. All right? So if you have any questions, please feel free to shoot me on an email or just wait till Thursday. I'm more than happy to Google Meet with any of you guys. All right. Other than that, that's all I got for you guys today. Have a great rest of your day, y'all.